What is up, Deadlings? It's me, Bryce. So, I said last week that I wanted to do a video on the Moonlight Solo. And so, here we are, doing the video on the Moonlight Solo. So I wanted to kind of do a run through of the tones that I use, the guitars that I use, the amps that were used, kind of give you like an overall look of how things were done. So stay tuned for that. It's all coming in this video. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do so. And also, please go follow the Facebook. It's like the biggest account that I have on social media. So go check that out. I put out multiple pieces of content daily there. And yeah, you can join the Buried there. You can join the mailing list there, which if you join the mailing list, you'll probably get more of this video anyways, because I plan on doing teasers for social, a little bit more for the Buried, and then a little bit more for the YouTube subscribers, and then the whole thing for the mailing list. So make sure you get on the mailing list, make sure you go follow us, and here we go. Okay, so I wanted to firstly show you kind of how I did things. So if you don't know, I mixed this song. I also tracked it most of the way. The only thing I didn't track was drums on this, but I tracked everything else. I mixed it all. Yeah, I did a lot of things on this song. So we have the ability to hear things soloed. So firstly, I wanted to show you what the solo sounded like without the vocals and the rest of the band, and then I'll show you what it sounds like with the vocals and then with the rest of the band, and then we'll kind of go into some tone stuff, guitars used, all that kind of stuff. So here we go. This is the solo itself. So this is starting from just a little bit sooner in the song, right before the solo. So I'll let you hear where we're at. So that's where we are currently. So I'm going to restart it, but we're just going to do just the solo. So here we are. This is just the guitar part soloed on its own. And that's it. So, as you can hear, there's some delay on there. Now, here's the thing about this. I didn't do a whole lot to this sound. So, this sound was done through the Les Paul that you're going to see in a minute. The amp, you're going to see all the pedals that I use. And then pre-production on this was pretty simple. Or, sorry, post-production on this was fairly simple. Of adding in a nice, solid delay sound, and then really just kind of bringing out the mids. I didn't really do too much on this. And if you listen, my tones are always really sharp. And the reason for that, I learned this from my favorite guitar player, is, you know, bass takes up the bass, right? And that holds the lower frequencies. And then the guitars are taking up between, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, they go pretty low in the frequency range, and they go pretty high in the frequency range. But for the most part, guitars are sitting between 500 and 8,000 hertz and kilohertz. And so the thing about guitar, for me at least, is bright tones punch through a mix, especially in a live setting, and especially in a mix setting. So I'll let you hear it again. Begins to creep in so good. Takes your life before just knocking. Before your knees are collapsing. So those super high notes are really punching through this mix, and it's because of the way I lean my guitar tones. And I do this all the time. It's just a thing I learned throughout the years of playing, and I absolutely love it. And so I'll show you my settings when we get there, but I wanted you to hear the solo itself and what it is, and then I wanted to kind of explain the production on it a little bit. So really, if you'll notice too, there is a little bit, I think, right through here. And there is a section where you'll hear the guitar like sweeping. I'll show you some video of what these faders or these panning knobs are doing. They're just freaking out because I have them automated. But it works, and it sends the guitar. The thing I've always liked about guitar solos is you need to paint. You know, you're a painter in a song, and you want the guitar to move so that the listener follows you. And you know, I know there's probably some guys on here watching this going, "What are you talking about? It needs to be up the middle or all the way to the sides." Or, you know, everybody has their own opinion on that. But my particular taste and movement and choice with this is always put it wherever the hell you want it. You know, make it a paintbrush and use those panning knobs as a paintbrush to move your solo. You have a great solo, make it move. You know, make it flex, make it feel, make it breathe, make it its own being, and that's how you really get a good solo. Somebody the other day commented that this lead up here was really good. That one took me a minute to get down. The thing I want to stress about my solo writing, if you've seen me live, you have an idea of how I play. And you have an idea of my improvisation skills, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, you must just like do one take, and you're gonna go." And the truth of that is no, I do not do one take on my solos. This one, I do believe, was 150 to 160 different takes. Now, granted, this is all at my home studio. If I was in an actual studio, I would limit myself to 5 takes probably. And the thing about being in a studio, though, is that by the time I get into the studio, I have practiced it, and I've sat at home and replayed the instrumental part of this, you know, off of like the tracking that we had been doing. And I play that over 150 times until I figure out the way I want it to go. And the reason for that, can I sit here and just like play along and have a solo? Sure, of course I can. But when I take the time to write the solo out, what it gives me is it gives me an ability to express the way I want this song to feel with my instrument. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, you know, doing improvised solos is good or bad for records, and I'm certainly not saying that, you know, doing them is the wrong way. I just personally like the ability to sit there and go, you know, that doesn't feel right, but I liked this lick. So let's go, and we'll take that lick and we'll try again. We're going to put that here. And so that's how I structure the solos, is I take all of these licks and I combine them to make this one grandiose solo. And so that beginning lick here, this little run, that is taken right out of a Joe Bonamassa book. And it works great. I use that run all the time. It's really just like a pentatonic run from 5 to 1, 5 to 1 to 2, 5 to 1 actually. As far as positions go, it's nothing fancy. It's just the way it's put together and the way it repeats. That really kind of just brings it up, and it like rips you out of where this is in this big vocal harmony that's, you know. So go chase your life before death's knocking, before your knees are collapsing under. And have a listen to that in particular. So have a listen to, I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Have a listen to this. So go right? And behind that, what you have is you have a very grandiose, like, raise and lower thing that the guitar part does. And so that's what happens there. And beneath that, we get this. So this is what this does with the vocal parts. Is it creates this really cool harmony.
Oh, go chase your life before death's knocking.
So that is just vocals, and now this is with the guitar solo.
So go chase your life before death's knocking.
And so it kind of almost like the guitar part like sets the vocals on this cliff of like, oh, we're raising, go chase your life, and then it like settles it and then allows the vocals to kind of crescendo more. And that is how I always write my stuff. I always try my best to like, what can this part do that the other part can't do? And how can I make that part better with what I'm doing as a guitarist? And that slide, I want to tell all the guitar players out there, if you have a guitar solo and you're like, this sounds great, but I want it to sound just like a 5% better, add slides. If you can find a way to crush slides into your licks, before and after, or maybe just after, or maybe just before, the licks that you're running, man, it really makes them sound just absolutely stellar. Another example of this here, let me just shut off the vocals again, is this. I don't know if you can hear in the middle of that, but it's shqueam, 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 and I'll show you in a second on the guitar how I did that. But like scrapes, rakes, and slides, those bring it to life, really. It does so much for the sound, especially with delay, because the delay throws. Scrape, 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 right before these quick rakes. So there's these two quick little rakes at the end there, but that's what it came to. And I remember when I was writing this solo, because usually I wait until the end to do guitar solos. I don't do guitar solo, like the final guitar solos, until the very end, after all the vocals have been tracked, after all the guitar parts have been tracked, bass, drums, harmonies, gang vocals, everything. I want everything in the song before I walk in with a guitar to do a solo. And the reason for that is I feel like I really get to play off of what's already happening. Whereas I don't necessarily get to do that when I am, maybe, I come in and we only have 4 parts done, out of like 30 or whatever. I don't feel like I get the best emotion out of the guitar solo. And that's kind of the huge, big thing for me, is get the emotion, get it to where you want it to be, get that resonance with the music. And that really, I think, is what brings out the best in my guitar playing. So I remember when I was tracking this part, and I had sent it to the drummer and I said, hey, what do you think of this? And he was like, okay, well, I think that's really good. And I was like, I think I can do it better though. I'm going to do one more take. And he's like, you only have one more take. That's all I'm giving you. I was like, all right. And I knew exactly at that point, I was like, it was the same solo, everything you're hearing now, minus the slides and the rakes. And so I just, I sat there and practiced the way I wanted it with the slides and the rakes added in. And I did the take, and I got the guitar solo, and now it is the guitar solo that you're hearing on Moonlight. So that's a little bit about how I write the solo. That's a little bit about how I, mixed it in, and how I do things, and how many takes it takes for me to do things, at least in my home studio. And it just kind of gives you an insight to the solo of Moonlight. So let's bail over to some gear, and we'll get a look at that. And yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy that part too. All right, so here we are at the pedal board. So I have since updated a few things, and that being, I have kind of updated, well, a lot of things. So from the time I recorded that, I changed up my pedal board quite a bit. This isn't even on there, and neither is this one, but they will come into play in a second here. So The reason I ended up changing out pedals was because this delay doesn't have a tap tempo. I'm a huge fan of tap tempos. So I was able to get this super cool black and red Walrus ARP87. And that thing is great. It has some really cool sounds to it, and it does mimic the Prophet delay fairly close. I love this delay. This is only a $30 pedal, and I really was like, I don't even want to sell it. And I sold a lot of the other ones that I used to have, but that one was on the list, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it because it sounds so good. So I kept that one, but I did add up the ARP87 to the board. I guess I'll show you my chain. So up here in the corner, we have a Korg multi-tuner. It's nothing special. It's just a tuner. And then we have a Joe Bonamassa wah, Noble's ODR1, the Pugilist distortion, the Eisenhower fuzz from Dan Electro, an old school OCD full tone. I think this is V1.2, if I remember right. The ARP87, and then the thing is right here there's a split. It goes up to the ABY box, and then all of these pedals, from here to here, go out to my dry amp, and then the split comes out of here, goes into my wet effects, which at this time and at the time I recorded Moonlight was this Phase 100, and then over to this instead of that ARP. And then this was replaced with this. So this is a 1989, I do believe, Boss DS1. It has seen better days. I took it off the board and replaced it with this because I wanted a beefier sound. Again, I love that sound, like that Chevelle sound, the big, beefy guitar sound. And so I thought, well, this does a great job at that. So I'll put that on and save this one. It's paid its dues. But the sound you're hearing on Moonlight is this pedal. So it's the chain would be tuner, wah, this one, then this one, and then on we go until we get over here with the delay. And the only two that would be on would be this delay, and then, the only three that would be on would be these two distortion pedals and this, in that order. And so that really is kind of how it worked out. The tone settings on these would have been, let's see, I think they're right about distortion. I just use this as an overdrive, and then I put that there, and then I always had the volume kind of right at 2 or 3 o'clock. And then this one I try to do spectrums a little lower, like 2.5. The levels a little higher, like 4, and then the drive, I don't think you can see, but it's at about 6 there. And then that would go into here, and then we would go out to the Moonlight delay, as I would call it on tour, because that's all I used it for, was Moonlight. And as you can see, I drew on a little bit, and I drew it so I knew right where the songs were. So the K down there on the time button, that's for the song called The King, which if you've seen us live, you've heard that, I'm sure, at some point. Don't know if you'll be hearing it anymore, though. But regardless, this was the pedal that was used. Those are the settings. Okay, I know my amps are dusty, I'm aware. So this is basically where everything is. Now this is the wet amp. So this one, I guess, should look a little bit different. So this one should actually look a little bit more like this. More bass, less mids, less treble. That's fine, that's fine. Okay, so then if we come over here to this amplifier, this one should be a little bit different. This one should be on mid. And then gain is probably about right. Bass, middle I like to crank. Treble I like to crank. Now they're set this way, the way they were, just because I'm not playing without any pedals right now. I'm playing with pedals. So this is how I would normally set up if I had pedals in front of the amp. Both of these are Bass Breaker 15s by Fender. And then they also have the extension cab. The extension cab is not plugged in right now, only because, well, honestly, I don't need that much noise to do this video. So, yeah, that's the amp settings. Okay, real quick, I changed everything over, and I did set up the original setup. So currently, that pedal there is going out to the amp on the left, and then this red cable is taking all of these, the wah, all the way through to the OCD, sending it to here, and then it's going out through that red cable to this amp on the right. All right, so here we are at the playthrough. Finally, right? So this playthrough, I wanted to just talk about the guitar used, and then I'll actually do the playthrough. So somebody the other day on the Facebook, I think, asked, what guitar are you using? What is that? This is what you're looking at. So this is a 120th anniversary Les Paul Studio, surprisingly, by Gibson, in a, I think the color's black cherry burst or dark cherry burst. I can't remember. It's a rare color, though. It's hard to find this one. They also made blue and green, Anaconda green, which is a cool one, and the blue one's cool too. But a lot of buckle rash. I've played this one. This has been my main guitar for quite some time. All these marks on the fretboard on the top. But what a great guitar. Super loud. So the settings usually, for this solo in particular, I have the guitar in the middle, between the middle of these two pickups. So the top knot, or the top pickup is on like 6 or 7 with the pot pulled, and then the that one was all the way up, the pot pulled, and then the treble was down to like 6 or 7. Yeah, about like this. It has like that. It's very moany, you know? Yeah, that's right. Wow. It's really hard to get those. Like those two little things. And I'm doing that with this finger. So it's kind of like a chicken picking, or not, a hybrid picking type of thing. But that's pretty much it. And then you're hearing the big sound on the chorus is just the way these amps are set and the way the pedals are set. It's really nice, and you get this nice, you know, moany, not too overdriven. But if you hit it, seems I'm falling out of tune. But you get the idea. And if you add the DS1, watching. Thank you for being on the mailing list. If you haven't done that, go sign up, buriedbeneathme.com. Or if you maybe are on it, great. Then make sure you're on the Facebook, the Buried group, and make sure you follow on all the social medias. Subscribe and like here. So here is the Moonlight Solo in its entirety. Bye.